Hey guys, it's Drew from the Drewsperience, voice of Canadian conservatism, Iranian advocacy, and Kyokushin karate. If you like the conversations, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe button in order to grow and amplify the voices within our community. Also, if you are generous enough, I do also have a buy me a coffee in order to support independent media, political conventions I do, as well as production equipment for improving the show. So make sure to hit the link in there once we can. But today's guest, oh boy, this is one I've been waiting for. Today we're talking strategy, not just headlines, not just outrage, but how the Conservative Party of Canada actually wins. Joining me today is Elliot Daiganault, co-host of the Right Call podcast, someone who's been unapologetically clear where the party needs to go, how it needs to communicate, and why discipline, vision, and voter expansion matter if the Conservative Party wants to form government. So if you care about messaging, grassroots energy, coalition building, and election math, I'm terrible at math, but he might be better at math than me. This one's for you. Elliot, welcome to the Drewsperience.
Thank you for having me, Drew. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dude, man, it's like it was crazy. Like we were in Calgary like 2 weeks ago. It feels like a fond memory already. It was like I want to go back. That influencer party like that where you guys started coming out to talk like that was like such like a. I never felt more proud to be a Tory than when at that at that bar.
It was a great experience. The energy was crazy. I was mind blown by how many people were there to begin with. I was not expecting that.
Hmm.
And being at the heart of Calgary, it's like a cowboy bar, like a line dancing bar. Everyone's wearing cowboy hats, cowboy boots. Everyone's friendly as hell. And I mean, look, we're from Quebec, right? And in Alberta, they're not always kind to the Quebec people, but it was quite the opposite. Everyone was raving about the fact that some Quebec guys were in town. So yeah, man, it's been more than 2 weeks now. It's been almost a month. It's
Yeah.
crazy how time flies.
Oh my God, this year just started kicked off right away. We got Maduro captured. We got the Iran Revolution happening. We had Pierre's leadership review. Next up, Godzilla rises from the Sea of Japan, probably, and Japan admits that Godzilla exists. I don't know. I'm just talking smack. We could go on all about this, but I have to ask, because obviously your show is one of the big ones, especially for coming from Quebec, where we're not known as a conservative province. Like, I mean, you got a big show. I got a show where I'm trying to follow in some of y'all's footsteps. But how did you get interested in politics to begin with?
It's not something I set out to do, to be quite frank with you. I'm an entrepreneur. I grew up playing hockey, actually. Let's go back even further. I grew up playing hockey like any good Canadian. That was my path. Played for 15 years. And then
Mhm.
eventually that transitioned to business. I launched a company when I was 23 years old, and I ran a tech company for a decade. Now, a couple of years ago, I was invited because of business on a business podcast, and it was just interviewing Montreal entrepreneurs. And the co-host and I, or the host and I should say, Curtis, we just ended up talking like 5 minutes business and like an hour and a half politics. And that's when I realized, hey, I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff, commentary, opinions, just the way I view the world. And people responded to that. So eventually it turned into a weekly affair, a weekly show. And last July, I took it over. So Curtis had to step back due to his business, and I took it over to Right Call Podcast. And now that's pretty much what I do, my shindig. And the way I call it, the way I explain what it is, effectively, it's the kind of conversations like you and I, like two friends or two family members, we'd have in private, but this time we have it in public. And that's exactly what we do. We share our opinion for the world to see. And the reception's been great, and it's when you realize there's more people that think alike than people who oppose it. And it goes a little bit against what the mainstream says. We keep being told we're the fringe minority, but turns out it ain't so.
No, that's amazing. I mean, I'm the same way too. I mean, I've always kind of been a political junkie, raised by my father, like he was conservative, Bush Republican too, but, very into foreign policy and whatnot. So I used to watch the news with them. And then I used to watch Royal Canadian Air Force back in the day at my late grandma's. So that kind of got me my nick into it, but I didn't really understand it. But, then obviously I voted conservative. Then, when you're young, you're dumb. You're idealistic. I voted the NDP in 2015 at the time. I was
Oh,
a broke college student, like many other Canadians. Like, I mean, I
for
think we
sure.
were, we all made mistakes when we're young. And then obviously, like, I kind of lost interest after my father passed, and I just kind of went on my own way. But then I voted conservative in not 2019, 2021. I don't remember. That was like just a weird election. And then this last election, conservative. But yeah, man, no, it's like, and when you talk to people, you just realize like a lot of people are, they're kind of in that center, really.
Yeah, well, ultimately, I think this is where I love classical liberalism, dead center. I think that is probably the best place to be.
Hmm.
Now, maybe it's an ideal, maybe it's hard to get there. You're always going to have two opposing spectrum that are pulling the blanket to their side, right? But ultimately, I think if a society tries to aim towards classical liberalism, you're going to
Hmm.
have a perfect balance. Now, personally, I feel like I associate a lot more on certain levels with libertarianism. I believe
Hmm.
in just live and let live. If it doesn't hurt someone, let it be. And small government, stay out of people's lives. People can manage their own lives. You don't need a nanny state, right? In French, we'd say gouvernement. You don't need that nanny state to be there. Obviously, economically, I'm a capitalist. I think capitalism, until I can find a better system that promotes excellency and innovation and hard work, I think right now it is the best system we have. I will say, however, a little caveat is that today's economic world is not capitalism. It's not laissez-faire. It's not free market capitalism. It's devolved effectively into, dare I say, crony capitalism. It's a
Hmm.
lot of lobbying, lots of oligopolies in Canada. In the US, it's a lot of cronyism, lobbyists, you name it. And it takes away the essence of what real capitalism is. But, politically speaking, yeah, I think a classical liberal would be the best. And I'll also add this, the parties have shifted so much over the last decade
Hmm.
where you have Democrats or liberals in Canada have shifted so far left. The right, conservatives or Republicans, have mostly stayed the same, maybe a tiny little few percentage points to the right. But effectively, you have now a growing divide where you would have, and I'm pretty sure if the mainstream media was to meet a classical liberal from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, he would probably be called a right-wing extremist today, which is kind of wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And what made you go conservative? Like, was there a specific
Mhm.
individual in politics or individuals that helped mesh your philosophies and views to get you where you are today?
I think whenever someone is brought up or does any endeavor that requires excellency, they will inadvertently fall a little bit more on the right or the conservative political spectrum. And let me explain a little bit what I mean
Hmm.
by that. See, liberals and liberalism, it's oftentimes about blaming others for issues about you. They don't take credibility or they don't take ownership over their lives and their policies or their problems. It's always someone else's problem, right? Inflation is not caused by poor fiscal policy. It's caused by Donald Trump, or it's caused by COVID, or it's caused by the former Harper government.
It's caused by Putin.
It's caused by Putin. That's another one too. Yes, the Ukraine war, the Ukraine war. That's why you're paying $30 for a pack of eggs. So, whereas if you're an entrepreneur or I don't know, an athlete or anyone that tries to start something on their own, the only way you'll succeed is by taking extreme ownership over your
Hmm.
endeavor. Everything good that happens is yes, thanks to you, but everything that goes wrong is also because of you. And until you accept that it's because of you, you'll never be able to take the steps required to improve. Now, growing up playing hockey, played for 15 years, that was the ethos that was ingrained in me. After hockey games, after practices, my coaches, and I had amazing coaches in my life, they would be very direct, very honest, and very, dare I say, forthright about what went good, but also what went wrong. And we were not told and coddled, oh, it's okay, you played a good game. You played a good game, it's all good. No, you were told, hey, you fucked up here, or you messed up here, you did this, you did that, you could do better. And if you won, you had praise, but then you would still break down where things could have gone better. So you were taught from a very early age to take ownership, that you're responsible for your performance and for your life. So when eventually I came of age and turned 18 and I was kind of, hey, I'm allowed to vote now. You start looking at the parties, start looking at the platforms. And for me, it's a no-brainer. On the conservative side, it's a lot more in line with that philosophy. Small government, let people make their decisions. And to me, that's freedom. And I'll end on this point when it comes to freedom. See, freedom doesn't mean you'll have equal outcome. See, freedom actually promotes inequality in a way. So, what do I mean by that? So, when you're free to make your choices, Inequality and unfairness becomes not a bug, but a feature because some people will make the right choices, some people will make the wrong choices, some people will try hard, some people will be lazy and do nothing. If you're truly free to pursue life according to your belief and your desires, then you will have unequal outcome. And I'm fine with that because it allows the best to rise above. And society is better when the best are unshackled and allowed to perform. So that's why I vote conservative. That's one of the main reasons.
Amazing. I mean, look, I'm the same way too. As you said extreme ownership. My dad was the same way. Charter accountant, then started his own business, had many trials and tribulations with it until he passed away. And then obviously, but like he always had that goal of being self-sufficient, and that's what being conservative teaches you, not to depend on the
Hmm.
government. And that's something that I've strived very hard for. Like for me, I'm very active with the special needs community, like with in terms of Bill S-203, which Pierre put through because of his daughter with Senator Leo Houstakos and Senator Mike Beam, MP Mike Lake, who I had on like Monday, which was like, it just dropped that episode. Great conversation. If you guys, for anyone who has like a special needs member of their family, please, I encourage to watch that episode just to build advocacy. And that's what conservatism does. It's to conserve what's there, but to also teach you about that extreme ownership and not to like depend. Like, look, it's okay to depend on certain ways of the government, but not to be too dependent where you can't help yourself.
Yeah, a basic social safety net is the hallmark of any civilized,
Hmm.
culture, country, you name it, and that's fine. But I think we're way past that in Canada, even more so in the province of Quebec. There's a
Oh
reason
yeah.
why we call it a welfare province. And if you continuously promote and encourage people to be reliant on the government, well, all that's going to do is one, cause the government to be more powerful,
Hmm.
bigger, stronger, and two, you're not empowering people to actually, one, take ownership over their lives, but also improve their station. Your basic needs, if they're met and you're given just enough entertainment to kind of like, coast through life, people become vegetables effectively, and society won't thrive. You won't have innovation, you won't have excellency, you will not improve people's life. I mean, the reason why we have inventions and quality of life and wealth and the poverty rate is the lowest it's ever been and the quality of life for the average individual on the planet is the best it's ever been. It's not thanks to socialism, thanks to communism, or thanks to government giving it to you. No, it's thanks to society, people making it happen, building and enabling that wealth from existing in the world. So, yeah, we have to stop depending on the government. It's not coming to save you. Governments don't care about you. And ultimately, you're the only one who can pull yourself up from the bootstraps, right? Pull yourself up from the bootstraps. Is
Yeah.
that the saying? Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
saying.
Yeah. So, but again, it's like, okay, here it's in Quebec. Okay, you're given a lot. You're given way too much. And I've seen it firsthand. I know some people that are on welfare and they're not bad people per se, but you killed the motivation to do anything. It's almost like, dare I say, take a drug addict. If you keep giving him drugs, he's never going to get clean. Eventually, you kind of just have to force this person to have a reckoning, to face the music,
And the
and
withdrawal.
yeah, and they'll do it. But there's a good saying that says it's only once at a precipice that people find the need to change or the will to change. But if you continuously keep them just away from teetering on the edge, well, they'll let things collapse around them. And well, again, the world ain't gonna be better for that. Our kids and our grandkids and the future perennity of the country, of the world, will suffer because of it. So it's up to us. It's up to us to stand up and to do the right thing.
Very, very true. Now, you said Quebec. We're both from Quebec. So this is a two-part question. We can't seem to win in Quebec, the CPC. The last time we had success was in 1988 under the honorable, legendary Brian Mulroney. I mean, he's a legend to me because he's the reason why I got into politics. But what do you think? Why can't we win here? Like we always hear about Quebec City,
Mhm.
boast that like odd, like in the South Shore or Leve or maybe like Rose, not Rosemere, but like which regions I'm talking about. They
Mm.
win. Why can't we crack this province? And it seems to have been a problem since 19 going back to 1993. So why do you think we cannot win here?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And I think it's a cultural, it's a societal thing, right? So there's still I feel like Quebec and a lot of like diehard like pur laine Québécois, like the real kind of Quebec people here, they're still reeling from the colonial times. You still hear it. We're a bunch of colonized people. The English, the British, they took over, and it's like they never really got over it. And due to that, they have this chip on their shoulders, and they just feel like the world owes them something because somehow, somewhere, some ancestor was done wrong. And don't get me wrong, it is true that, after the Brits won in Quebec, on the plain of Abraham's, like freaking 400 years ago, the Brits and the English got the best positions in society. They were the ruling class, and the French, the Quebecois, were relegated to the worker class. But once again, that is not the case anymore. People have to realize that, okay, we have to move forward and progress. So I'm on one part, I think that's a little piece of that. Number two, it's a cultural thing. Quebec loves its social programs. It's the biggest welfare province. We love the government taking care of us. And that's a little bit at odds with conservative value. Again, we spoke about it earlier. What are conservative values? What
Exactly.
does it stand for? So it's a complete different shift in perspective for them. They don't want to be taken care of. They want their little clubs, their little cigarettes, their little, 2-4 of beer, and they're happy with that. It's a mentality of mediocrity, and nowhere is it better exuded actually than with the language. I'm all for protecting the
And you're
French
Franco and
language.
you're francophone, Elliot Daiganault. That's
Absolutely.
like you're like pure laine yourself.
I
So
am, as a matter of fact, I did not speak a word of English until I was 14 years old. Not a word of English. I was completely unilingual French. And I'm all for protecting the language. Quebec does have a specific, unique identity, and I'm all for that. That's fine. But if you look again on the individual level, how many Quebecois don't speak English? So many. How many of them don't even have a passport? They die 5 kilometers away from where they were born. And to me, that's a good kind of clue to the kind of persona these people have. They're content with their cozy little life. In French, we say "Petit peuple is gonna petit peuple." So the reason why, again, the conservatives, I think, can't crack it here is because one, they're not promising all the beautiful handouts. They're like the strict, stern father that we all need. But, when you're a rebellious little kid that's a little snot eater, and you have your dad that comes with this freaking beating stick and says, boy, you better freaking start doing what's right, or else, well, you're not going to love your father for that. However, that's what Quebec needs. And the conservatives kind of represent that stern father, and we're just rebelling and pushing it away. So it's going to be hard. But and I'm optimistic though. I
me
do
too.
think the tide can shift because even though Quebec is probably the most liberal province after like Nova Scotia and Halifax, but it's still a place where the younger generation, the younger cohort, the Gen Zs, the millennials, they've seen, they've seen the destruction that over a decade of liberal policy and just gluttony and just being fat and chubby and lazy has caused. They're now really at the precipice. They can't afford homes. They can't afford to have families.
They can't afford
They
rent.
they can't afford rent. They see themselves as having no future. And you know what? When you're that much in despair, when you're that kicked down to the ground, that stern father now becomes a glimmer of hope. It's something, and I liken it to my hockey days. When we were defeated and we lost a game, and we had the coach come in, and he would tell us we played like shit, and this is all the ways we did bad. But then he would paint a path forward. He would tell us he believed in us, he knew our potential, and he would uphold us, force us to uphold ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and aspire to more. Now, that's, I think, the way the conservatives can start winning seats in Quebec. It's about showing the way and showing the younger millennial, the Gen Zs, what Canada with their lives could be like if only they faced the music and not to worry because they will are like again a strong father. He will be there to grab your hand and to lead you along the way, but he can't walk for you. He will lead you, he will show you the way, but you just got to be able to walk. And I think people really resonate with that.
That's an amazing breakdown because you have to remember the rest of Canada is different from Quebec. Like when we were in Calgary, I met some. I mean, you have to remember Calgary, then the Conservative Party, there's like a reformist faction. I'm sure you've heard that term
Hmm.
reformist. They're like the old reform party that are like very socially conservative. And they're like, you're from Quebec, but like, why are you part of the Quebec Liberal Party provincially? And I said, well, we do have a conservative party in Quebec, but the problem is they're just unwinnable. So the Liberal Party becomes the default for the Anglophones. It doesn't mean I'm a liberal, it just means that I'm like a light blue conservative. And they're like, oh, it was like, okay.
Yeah.
But also, too, it stems too from historically, you said the Plains of Abraham, and like where like the British just said, let them keep their identity. I think it also stems back too to Meech Lake, and also the
Hmm.
Night of Long Knives before that under Pierre Trudeau Sr., where they made the Constitution and they ratified it without Quebec. Quebec felt betrayed, obviously under Rene Lévesque, and then when Brian Mulroney came in, there was something called the Le Beau Risque, which was basically to say, look. We're going to work with the conservatives. They're promising that we're going to be brought back into the Constitution. We're going to be given like special privileges, being a distinct society, control on immigration. And when Meech Lake happened, it failed because they didn't want to give Quebec those powers, and Quebec just felt so slighted. So I think they look at the like if you're in Montreal, they look at the Liberals federally as the default option because it's federal, prevents separation, very social, progressive, whatnot. And then in the regions, they'll look at the Bloc because they represent the Quebecois, like the Quebecois identity and whatnot. It's not a bad thing, but it's just, I think it has to stem from the scars of 1990 when Meech Lake failed to ratify. And I just think ever since then, Quebec just is like province non grata for the
Yeah.
CPC.
No, no, I think that's a really good point you bring. First of all, that's another thing too that a lot of Canadians just don't quite grasp is the fact that we do have a provincial centered um, federal party, right? The Bloc Québécois. They'll never form government in federal because they only run MPs or candidates in the province of Quebec. But their sole purpose is to represent the interests of Quebec, and they cannibalize quite a good chunks of potential conservative votes in the province
They
because
do.
these people are, like you said, they're region people, right? They're outside of cities, and they would perhaps be voting conservatives otherwise. So the Bloc probably is one of the big reasons why the conservatives can't, win more seats here. Which brings a really good point. I just came up with this, but if actually no, this is something we analyzed on our show during the last election cycle. But if I was the Bloc and if I was Polyev, the Conservatives, I would make an alliance. I would
That's
form.
what we were saying. It's I've said that too because
Yeah,
Harper did that with Duceppe almost in 2005, and
yeah.
then the whole Belinda Stronach crossing the floor, if you remember that. When we
Hmm.
were in high school. How old are you, by the way? I'm 34. How old are you?
Same as you, 34.
Okay, so you remember that time where like the sponsorship scandal, we were about to be
Yeah.
in an election. So sorry to interrupt, but you know what I mean, right? So that they
Hmm.
could have made an alliance, but then the
Yeah.
liberals, to the flip side, could have said, Elliot, look, the conservatives are going with the separatists. They're for separation and all that. So it's a dangerous alliance, but if tempered properly with the Bloc, I think there's a way there could be some sort of like a coexistence in a way.
Yeah, well, coexistence is a good word. I was going to say a coalition, of course. So the reality is, one, transparency has to exist. If
Mhm.
people, and this is like running a company, you could have the worst news in the world, but if you're transparent and you package it well to your employees, they'll take it. They'll be fine. People don't need to be babied. All right, they really don't. You have to respect them enough to tell them how it is. Now, with the Bloc and the Conservatives, you're right. There's the risk that the Liberals will just attack and say they're siding with the separatists. But then, okay, you have to look at who votes Liberal and who votes Conservative. Alberta, Saskatchewan, they're still going to vote Conservatives. People rather die, right, than freaking vote Liberal over there. Plus, at the same time, with the sovereignty movement in those provinces, and this is I was on a show in Calgary called Citizens, and they were really asking me about separation and sovereignty, and I said, if Quebec because there's a rise right now again in sovereignty
There
and
is.
separatism in Quebec. If Quebec has a referendum in the next year, 2 year, 3 year, whatever, I'll vote yes. Not because I think Quebec can live on its own, to be quite honest. I don't think it has the people in place to have the strong province or to be a strong sovereign country. However, I think it would enable and help Alberta or maybe even Saskatchewan from being able to separate and to make a deal with the federal government and other provinces. So, on one hand, you're never going to lose Alberta and Saskatchewan. The liberal or the eastern provinces or like the maritime provinces, they're always freaking liberal anyways. There's no really conservative stronghold over there. So you're not going to lose them, you know? So ultimately who decides the elections every year? It's two provinces. It's sad, but it's true. It's Ontario and Quebec. Ontario and
Mhm.
Quebec decide the election. So if, and they would have to do some canvassing and some, some analysis there, but if they realize that citing and getting, say, 30, 35, 40 block seats in Quebec would offset perhaps a few seats being lost in Ontario, which could happen, then it's a net win. It's a net win, and it should be done. Now, the real question becomes, what can they offer to block? And what I would do is I would take a page from European governments. I wouldn't just make an alliance with a few policy concessions, as we tend to do here. I would go full coalition government. I would say, look, if we form government, one, two, or three members of your party would be appointed as cabinet ministers. We would form an actual real coalition like they do in Europe. You will have a seat at the table to make decisions and to manage ministries. That I'm sure would win so many votes in Quebec, and that would cement a great alliance. And the bloc doesn't really fall on the right or left. The bloc cares about Quebec's well-being first and foremost. So give them ministries that take care of Quebec provinces. Give them ministries that Quebec really cares about, like culture or language or all this stuff that even immigration, heck, even immigration, because Quebec already manages its own immigration system. And you know what? Quebec is doing a little bit better immigration-wise than the rest of
A
Canada.
lot of people are realizing that now because now a lot of them were saying like when I was at the convention, some were coming up to me and they said, "You guys got how this. You guys don't believe in this multiculturalism stuff. Like you guys got it right finally, or we got to figure out how you guys stop the mass immigration from coming in." And it's like, yeah, it's like. You got to speak to someone that's francophone, most likely, because I don't pay attention to that really, but now I am, because
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but no, but it's something that's very true, Elliot. And you
But
have to,
see, like
yeah,
the federal government only now is starting to talk about immigration targets being, way too optimistic and them having made mistakes. But if you look at provincial politics, the provincial government for many, many years have been saying too many immigrants, we need to cut down. And it's not a racist thing. It's our services just can't handle it. And we're seeing also, and this may be again, Francophones have a little bit more of their finger on the pulse when it comes to this, but they see their culture decline, eroding. They see the French language not being spoken in schools as much, not being, fluently spoken in day-to-day life. And for them, that's a huge marker, like a huge red alert signal that, hey, 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 something bad's happening. Whereas in the rest of Canada, maybe there isn't this alert system to wake people up to wait. There's just too much and it's happening too quickly. So yeah, I think that could be one of the reasons. It's nothing to do with racism. It's just, look, we love our French language here. We want to preserve it. And as such, we realize you just have to give time for people to integrate. Immigration requires integration. And if you flood a system too quickly, well, the system collapses.
very, very true. I like what you said about the coalition because it's a case of like the right. It's like if let's say if Pierre's prime minister,
Hmm.
it's not if I think it's going to be when. I'm still optimistic no matter what. As I am a hopeless pragmatic optimist in a way. So make of that what you will. But I think honestly Pierre would I could a Pierre prime ministership would be I don't always know the left hand from my right hand, but as long as my right hand has some concessions that the bloc wants, we can work with them and have a coalition. And it might piss people off, but if it kills the separatism bug or the separatism like mood, that's a big win either way. Like I mean, look after 1995, if you remember, Chrétien
Hmm.
had like a cooperation with Gilles Duceppe. Harper coexisted and worked with Gilles Duceppe until 2011 and the Orange Wave happened. But we do need a healthy NDP, and I have a feeling that it's going to be a two-party system for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah, well, one, the NDP is broke. Like their coffers are completely empty, which is one of the reasons. There was like talk and chatter about the budget not passing, right? Non-confidence and going to elections again. And I was like, it's impossible. Sorry to say, the NDP is flat broke. And I mean, flat broke, they don't even have a leader. And then you're looking at the absolute circus. It's a circus, their leadership race right now. The people that are running to be the leaders of the NDP. I mean, look, I don't align at all
Me
politically or
neither.
policy wise with the NDP, but I mean, I can look back and say, you know what, Jack Layton was, was a strong leader, was a decent man. He was like a guy that I can say, hey, I understand why people like him. But Jesus Christ, the people we're looking at right now at the NDP leadership race, it's a joke. You have like flat out open communists Like a guy that's calling for, yeah, we should have public grocery stores. It's okay, that's communism, bro. Like,
And then
chill.
You have John Ashton, the longshoreman. He's like, I don't really speak French. You're gonna have to repeat this again. You have the other one, Tanai, the one that's like a First Nations that thinks money grows on trees. You have Heather McPherson, who is the
Oh my
Hamas
God.
cheerleader, and then you have Abby Lewis, who thinks like there needs to be government-run grocery stores, telecom, Canada
Yeah.
Post, intern, government. It's like Mamdani on steroids, and it's like
Exactly. And you know what? Mamdani is a great cautionary tale. We're watching it like unfold in real time in front of us. During his campaign, it's like, we're gonna tax the rich and everyone's gonna be happy. And within like not even 3 months of his mayorship, it's already okay. So we're gonna have to raid the pension fund of our, city workers. It's like, wow, communism came at you real quick, bud.
Yeah, it really works. That's why I always say better dead than red, if you know what I mean.
Ah,
I'm a Cold War historian. I mean, that's my wheelhouse. It's so funny. Like I used to be like the political science, political junkie, then the history junkie. And I remember people used to say, that's a useless degree. The minute all this stuff happens in the world now, hey, can you tell me what your take is on this? And I'm like, oh, now my degree is useful. Okay. And it's like I don't smoke, but it's like that metaphor. It's like, it's like it sucks to be you because I call it's like I have the last laugh now, no, but but I have to ask, obviously, as I said, we figured out like how the conservatives can go in Quebec. What about a solid ground game, like in terms of like building from municipal to provincial? Because if we look at the liberal machine, Elliot, they have like it's like a whole hockey system. Like you got like and I'm saying this respectfully because politics and hockey are like the same. It's a team sport. You got your
Mhm.
front benches, your front line. So in municipal, to get into it, that's like the development league. And in terms of like the major junior and CAA, you really see like the nuts and bolts of how like a borough works. Then provincial level is like the AHL and whatnot. Like it's up there. It's pro. It's like it's pretty high. And then federal is like the NHL. Like that's when you're like in the big leagues. I know someone's gonna disagree with this very much. It's not offense. This is just me trying to break down how I look at politics and views are my own. So if you get offended, please go touch grass. I am not gonna argue with you
Or
about it.
snow, touch snow.
Touch snow, touch grass. But yeah, what's your thoughts on that in a way? Like, because that's how I look at with what we could do in Quebec. We have to go from the municipal to the provincial to the federal, and I think provincially. The conservatives have to find a way to have a bit of a relationship with the Quebec Liberal Party. And I'm not saying,
Mhm.
because you have to remember, we do have a conservative party provincially. It's just that they're so new and people don't really know. So, what's your thoughts on that? A bit of pragmatism and realism. Do you think that's something that could be done?
Well, I mean, anything can be done, especially in politics. It can surprise you. Now, you've highlighted the fact that right now, provincially, we do have what would be considered a conservative-ish government. To me, they've been the biggest letdown ever. I voted for the CAC, right? That's who they are.
Me too. In
And
2018, I really
yeah,
believed in Legault at the time.
I
Buyer's
really did as
remorse.
well. Yeah, no, completely. And I thought, finally a businessman, a guy who's actually built a company. He seems like he knows what he's talking about. I knew a lot of people that also, worked in his party, in his close circle, and I'm like, yeah, these are guys I trust. It's been to me an abject failure, and I'm not going to blame the conservative movement or like voting right. I just feel the party kind of strayed away from what they had promised. It was a typical case of like a bait and switch, to be quite frank with you. So the issue now at the provincial level is that I feel people, and it's definitely seen on the ground, they have this hangover of, call it conservative parties because they think the CAQ is conservative. And that's why right now the Parti Québécois, the PQ, the Sovereignty Party, is polling super high, and they're probably going to win the next election. The way this can be reclaimed, it's not going to be easy. Again, for me, I would go all in with the bloc because people in Quebec will vote for the bloc. You won't be able to win seats in the Montreal area. That's just a dead. Like, forget it. Montreal is way too red
Well,
or
well, we
orange.
Mount Royal almost won. We almost won, but then yeah, it's kind of like you just that Montreal donut. It's like I was talking with people at the convention, which we'll get to, but I was saying like, and they said, well, how can we crack that donut? And I go, you guys need a better strategy. Like, let's be real.
Mhm.
That's the thing. So yeah.
Well, the last election, the strategy of the conservative to me was non-existent. And speaking of being non-partisan, I spoke out against the Polyev strategy last time. I said he ran basically a non-existent campaign. I think he just believed that he had it in a bag, and as long as he stayed out of his own way and didn't screw it up, he would win. But and here's kind of like the meat of the issue, the core of the issue is that liberals are just better at politics.
They
They're
are.
not better at governing. I don't believe in they're skilled at all in governing, but they are really good at politics. They will do what's needed to win, come hell or high water. And conservatives, due to the fact I think they're a little bit more value driven, value principle driven, they hesitate to pull the dirty kind of maniacal tricks that the liberals do in order to win. And then you kind of confronted with a catch 22. Do you devolve and lower yourself to the same trickery that the liberals would in order to win, only to revert back to your values after? Or do you stick to your values because you're above it? And I don't necessarily have the answer for that. That's perhaps a personal choice. But one thing that can be done now is forget the boomers. Okay, boomers, they're just too far gone. You're not going to go get them. They're indoctrinated by CBC to get $1.4 billion a year of funding. They will continuously be attacking you. You won't have the mainstream media. So you know what? Cut them out. Do a little bit like Trump did. He just gave no credibility, no attention to the mainstream media, and instead captured a narrative by going the independent way. Guys like you, guys that that we met at the convention. It's not to toot our own horns, but we have the audience now. CBC ain't reaching people under the age of 45. We do. So let's focus on that. Let's have a little bit of a longer horizon. Realize that for today and for tomorrow, it's cooked. Liberals are winning. But in a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, well, the boomers are steadily drifting away just by virtue of, nature, life happening, the age kicking in.
Nature's
And
law, baby.
there you go. It is what it is. So ensure that your voter base and the Gen Zs and the millennials, and even to an extent the Gen X, is so cemented that when we become the majority cohort of voters, well, it's in the bag. It's won already. Screw CBC. You can defund them later. Okay. Don't be scared to say you will defund them, by the way, because that resonates with us. It resonates with us. Boomers hate it. It resonates with us. And most importantly, and I think this is the biggest mistake that politicians, but the conservatives, they do a lot of that. It's they try to rally everyone behind a common goal, a common vision, but you can't please everyone. You have to realize that you will end up segmenting and you will polarize people. And I'm going to use a little bit of a piece from one of my favorite business books ever. It's called Rework. And in there, they say you have to build super fans. You don't go after building a product that will appeal somewhat to a wide audience. You grow by building a product that is loved, beloved, that is cherished by a very small group of
Like
people.
Apple, like think of Apple. Like I know people
Exactly.
who will not touch an Android. I'm one of those people. I listen to all my Android people out there that are watching this or listen to this. Great. I love the fact that you have a phone that works. Listen, I'm an app. Listen, I have Apple. I use a MacBook. I use an iPhone. I'm a super fan, as Elliot just said. So rework. You got to focus on your super fans.
Absolutely. So understand that you will segment people and you will annihilate or alienate a few voters away. That's fine because a bit like you, and this is going to be an interesting analogy, and this is good. You're tying in my point so well. I was the guy that always hated Apple. I used to look at Apple products and be like, ugh, screw that, never touching. These guys are fanatics. They're a bunch of nerds. They pay 3 times the price for something that no, it's useless. But you know what? Over time, Apple gained more market share. Their diehard fan base became their best marketing. They became the people that pushed it on others, that kept harping everyone about how better they were. And eventually, you know what? I bit. I bought an iPhone. Well, you know what? Now I have AirPods, iPhones, Apple Watch. I have a MacBook Pro. I have an iPad. I have them all, baby. There you go. There you go. I have them all. And here's the key. Once you form government, you deliver. It's a bit like Apple. Once I bit and I bought my first Apple product, they had to deliver. And you know what? Their quality, their product was excellent. I'm in now. Well, same thing. So segment your voter base, appeal to them, let them do the work. Don't flip flop. Don't try to go too broad. And then when you form government, though, it's time for you to deliver.
Amazing. And where, to take it to the convention, because that's where we met. We met at the influencer party. And when you
Hmm.
said, yeah, we're from Quebec, I was like, yes. I was like, there's someone from Quebec here. Yes. Because, like, the friends I was with, they were doing their own party, but I was like, no, I want to hang with all the influencers. That's just me, man. It was great. Like, the speeches given, like, from you, Mario, Brett Wilson,
Hmm.
Pleb, Brittany, Berta Proud Dad, Berta Proud Mom, like the whole
Josh Udall.
Josh's speech was among the best. Like I like Josh is like my favorite maritime conservative. Like we're trying to get him on my show. Josh, buddy, I sent you an email. I love you, Josh. You're great. So I hope to have you on. Like I have this legend here, Elliot, on. But no, that was you guys were great. And what was your thoughts as your first convention? And like I mean, you were talking. You said you met Bob Zimmer. What was it like just being at the convention?
Uh, it made me realize that I'd be a horrible politician. It's that's my first thought. Look, I'll give you a little story. I get there and I know some people in the party, and they were introducing me to others. And at one point, this one guy came up to me, and he's from Quebec, and he's like, "Hey, you make videos?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "But why don't you make them in French?"
Oh
And my
no.
and my answer to him was, "I don't give a fuck about French." And again, this is coming from a Quebecois. I just don't really like. I'm not gonna. To me, it's not a battle to be had, French versus English. And he's like, yeah, but you're from Quebec. Come on. And I was like, well, do I want to appeal to an audience of three or an audience of 300,000? And I could tell it's like I insulted him personally.
Hmm.
And then later on, like in the hospitality suites, you're meeting people and it just feels fake. And now, mind you, I've met plenty of politicians, liberal, NDP, conservatives. There's just this air of constantly trying to appear prim and proper, say the right things, and that personally is in me. This is who I am. Take it or leave it. You like me, you don't like me. I'm not trying to make people love me here. But politics is very much about that. So my first opinion was that it's a lot about imaging, about messaging. Now, mind you, though, the one thing that surprised me the most in a very positive way was how many young people were there.
Yeah,
How
I
many
was.
folks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
how many people were under the age of 40? And heck, how many people were under the age of 25? I met countless guys and girls that were like 18, 19, 20, and I was like, geez, kudos for you guys. And some of them were running for executive, some of them were staffers, some of them are like thinking about running for office or ran for municipal. Like I met this one guy, Costa, his name. He ran for municipal election last November. And it's like, good for you guys. It gives me hope that the Conservative Party is actually the party of the youth. I mean, I've been saying it, the demographic is voting Conservative, but to see that the youth is part of the party, amazing. Um, but, and I'll end sadly on a bad note. The bad note is
Oh,
that I realize that there's still an old guard in the party.
yes, yes, there is, and they're kind of like a gatekeeper that Pierre speaks out against.
Exactly.
It's kind of like they're holding us back. It's kind of like that coach. You ever watch The Last
Hmm.
Dance, by the way, with Michael Jordan? The Last Dance was about like the Bulls dynasty. It came out during
No, I
COVID.
haven't.
Okay, it's like the coach Chuck Daly. I love Dennis Rodman, by the way. So Dennis Rodman is like, aside from hanging out with North Korean dictators, but just Dennis Rodman. I'll be honest, when it comes to politics, Elliot, I use the analogy of athletes, okay?
Hmm.
I am like the Brett Hall and Dennis Rodman of politics. What you see is what you get. I'm not going to be put in a box, but that old guard, it's trying to put a saddle on a Mustang, which is like you gotta rein it in. And it's like, no, you gotta let the youth, you gotta let them experiment, make the mistakes, let them have pie on their face. They will learn the hard way.
Exactly. So it really does feel like just this old guard. They're gatekeepers. That's a good way to put it too. Like, during the policy votes, there was a policy being brought forth about restricting the votes at these conventions to Canadian citizens. Effectively, the philosophy was, well, if you can't vote in a general election, why should you be voting for policy matters that if the party forms government will be probably tabled in the House of Commons. And you know what? I understand that. And that was brought, I believe, by some younger folks, people that
Hmm.
are just like, wait a second. And to watch that motion be defeated or that policy proposal be defeated and seeing all the old MPs or old party executive vote against it, that for me left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth. Or you also had Matt Genet, I believe, is an independent journalist, a young guy as well. And he went to go interview one of the MPs that voted against that motion after the vote. He just wanted to go speak to him. So he kind of confronted him, asking him about it. And rightfully so, that MP was very defensive and just kind of playing it off, saying, "Oh, I'm just voting for the status quo," blah blah blah. Well, the issue is that that guy, his name's Max Genet, I believe. Yeah,
Hmm.
he he was met by some party executives who warned him, "Don't ever do this again, or else we're going to walk you out of the convention." And it's like, wait a second, he's there, he paid his freaking entry fee, he's a journalist, he's there to ask these questions. And this is the one thing that scares me. And again, with a few interactions I had with MPs, is they expect us to work for them. We don't. We vote for them. We like what the party can do, but we will still hold you accountable. And I think that's the big difference between conservatives and liberals. The liberals, they expect undying loyalty. You see it with their whip, the government whip. It's you vote in block. People don't have the right to have their own opinions. But with conservatives, and under Harper, that happened many times. He allowed his MPs to vote however they believe. They're conscious. They vote what truly their riding and their constituents need. That's what real leadership and policy should be about. It's the voice of the people. So I don't want the Conservative Party to end up like the Liberals, where it's fall into line, walk to the tune, the beat of our own drum. If not, you are outcast. And to me, that's the old guard trying to preserve power from a new generation of people that see things differently, that might want to take the party to a slightly different direction. But that is democracy. So don't fight that. You're not making friends with that. You're actually making enemies because your people in your party, they're the people who want independent voices. We're not the CBC. So that was the one thing that left a sour taste in my mouth at the convention.
It's very valid, and I'm not going to deny it. I mean, for me, I had a blast. I was like Tasmanian devil, like just like going around meeting people and all that, getting interviews, doing advocacy for Iran, like just trying to get like 1 minute interviews to say, hey, do you
Mhm.
stand with the people and all? Like not like a certain other protest group. Just FYI, I was very professional. I said, hey, do you stand with them? And it was very good. Like, I mean, that's like my biggest cause aside from like, economic policy.
Mhm.
Because I think my favorite people that I met at the convention were okay, I got a good story too after, but it's like this is a great story though during the convention. So, anyways, my favorite people I met were Shuvaloy Majumdar, who was at the
Yes,
influencer
Shuv.
party.
He's
Shuv is the
great.
best. Shuv, by the way, Shuv, shout out to you, buddy. Thank you for all the work you do against authoritarianism, against anti-Semitism, and for speaking for Iranians. So if you see this, just know you're a mensch. You're gonna be remembered. Thank you, Shuv, and for the interview. So I love Shuv for foreign policy and just how cool he is.
This is
Uh,
amazing, that guy. He's honestly a cool dude, you know?
yeah, you can't hate him. It's like that's the thing. So there's him, Michelle Ferreri, who like
Mhm.
everyone, like I mean, I never like all the MPs got star treatment, but Michelle Ferreri got I was interviewing Michelle. People were coming up to her still. I was like, wow, and they're like, can we get a picture? I was like, yeah. It's like, don't worry. It's like I have time all day. Go take a picture, then I'll interview her after. So Michelle Ferreri, who is amazing, who's just an amazing voice, even though she's a former MP. I'm gonna say this right now. I believe in the future, watch out for her. And I'm saying this in a positive way. She could be a future leader in the Conservative Party. There is something about Michelle. She's very savvy on social media. She's got that mother-like personality, but also that friend-like personality. She knows when to be tough, but knows when to rein it in, and people on both sides respect her. So Michelle
Mhm.
Ferreri was one of my favorites because she gave me a ton of encouragement and whatnot. Like my reel is there with her. So there's her, Mike Lake, who I interviewed for autism awareness. That's my biggest cause, Bill S203. Stockwell Day, believe it or not, he was there. Like Stockwell, I don't know if you remember Stockwell. He was like ran for prime minister, and then he was like one of Harper's ministers. Um, he was amazing just for economic policy to speak with. And I'd say James Bazan, who gave me the nickname Taz. James, you're coming on my show. Just give it, like, I mean, I got to take, getting these people on is tough, man. It's like, it's not, a, it's, I say that because they got so many requests coming in, but there's just
For
too
sure.
many MPs. And, just like, I was overstimulated. Like, I had like so much stimuli. Cause like,
But you're
so
you're good at it though. I did see you buzzing around. You were with everyone. I think you met everyone who's anyone, and you're good at getting yourself into these situations. I gotta commend you for that, man. Kudos to you.
Thanks, man. I mean, it's like Mr. Right place, Mr. Right time, and it was like, it was crazy. I don't like, and then I get to the hotel, I'm just like pooped out. I'm like, they're like my friends, like, hey, do you want to? I was like, no, I just want to post my content and then go to bed, and then
Yeah.
it's a new day tomorrow. But no, it was great. I mean, I met so many people. Like, I mean, I met Sarah Fisher, I met Katie Merrifield, and like Steve, the new campaign manager. Great stuff. Like I said, I'm going to do what I can to give my platform to them. But I do believe too that the Conservative Party does need to find a way to really take that next level and let people be. Like, don't put us in a box. Like this is a
Yeah.
message to the CPC guys. Listen, thank you, but just remember we it's like he's like you don't want to turn you want to make sure you're bringing people in, not excluding them, and I say that
Hmm.
politely because as you said, Elliot, look what you went through and whatnot. And it's like I just don't like being ever put in a box. I've been put in a box enough in my life. I put myself in a box figuratively for others to like me, and I just feel you're just happier when you just accept yourself and you know what you bring to the table. And people don't like it, well, that's a them issue. It's not a you issue. It's not a me issue.
Absolutely, man. You only got yourself anyways, right? So may as well love
Yeah,
yourself, dude.
you got it. That's what makes us good at what we do. So I gotta ask this. So in the next election, whenever it comes, how do you feel the Conservative Party should shift? And then once they're in government, what do you want to see enacted within the first 60 days, not 30 days? You know what? Hey, once they're in, it's like you said, they have to start making sure they deliver, like you said, with like the rework on that book.
Hmm.
So what do you want to see in the first 30 days on policy?
Well, 30 days on policies, it's look, if they can do a lot in 30 days, then they're doing good. But you know what?
Top three. How about that?
Top three things. Okay. Well, first of all, I'm a lawful gun owner. All right. And I'm gonna say it's been an absolute shit show with what's going on with the disarmament, the gun buyback, the reclassification. So you know what? This was something that Harper had promised at the time to
Hmm.
dismantle the Firearms Act of 1995 and to replace it with something a little bit more common sense instead of incredibly stringent. It's been a failed policy. It has not stopped violent crime. It has not stopped criminals from acquiring weapons, and it's only put crazy sticks in the wheels of law-abiding people. It's
Hmm.
criminalized so many people with paper crimes effectively. So, repeal the Firearms Act of Canada, take back all these reclassifications, stop the disarmament. We're not the issue. We're good folks, and that's proven with statistics. That's number one. Number two, look, this one might not win me some friends, or it might. We'll see. But complete stop on immigration day one. I'll tell you why. I'll use the great analogy. If you have a bucket of apples, red apples, yellow apples, green apples, and there's 10 of each, and I tell you that 2 out of 10 green apples are poisonous. If you bite into it, you die. Would you still take a risk and eat a green apple? No, you wouldn't. You would only stick to the red and the yellow apples until you can ascertain, until you can be certain of which ones of the greens are poisonous.
Hmm.
This is what's happening with our immigration system right now. We've opened the floodgates in a way that is so poorly managed that we've let in tremendous levels of criminals, terrorists, bad folks. And yes, there's plenty of amazing fellas as well coming in. But again, it's a poisonous gift because for every 1,000 good folks that come in, you have one who end up committing atrocious crimes, killing people, raping people, selling drugs, you name it. And the duty of a government is to protect its citizens. So we don't owe them anything. Any immigrant that comes to Canada, it's a privilege. Let's be clear here. It's a privilege to begin with. So your mandate is not to protect them, it's to protect us. So we stop all immigration until we can figure out and put a system in place like it used to be back in the days where the people we bring in are good people. Then we can reopen immigration. No problem against that whatsoever. So that's number two. Number three, make a deal with the US. Make a freaking deal with the US. 30 days is long enough to make a deal with the US. I don't grasp and don't understand this anti American rhetoric. They are our largest trade partner. We share a 5,500-kilometer undefended border with them. They are the largest market in the world, the biggest economy in the world, the biggest military in the world, the cultural center of the world. We stand to win more from making a deal with them than not. Okay? We are puny compared to them, and yet we have privileged access to their market, their labor, They're buyers. All right. Make a deal. Will it mean perhaps leaving a little bit more off the table than USMCA or NAFTA? Perhaps. President Trump wants things to be fairer. But even if you did, we still stand to benefit more than seeing what's been happening over the last year with no deals because we're suffering way more. Make a deal, normalize relationships with the United States of America. They're not an enemy. They're truly our best friends. And we're just being brats right now in Canada. We're being stuck up little brats, and I'm fed up with that.
Did you know that the Gripen 39 is better than the F-35 because they survive in the cold? Like I remember when people listen. I know some are gonna get mad at me because like, you think you could kind of stop talking and making fun of. No, no, stop telling me the Gripens are better. I know this because I'm autistic and I played Ace Combat 4, 5, and 0. Okay, you know what plane you look forward to at the end of the game? You look forward to the F-22 and the F-35. It's American made, baby. Listen, Sweden, I love you. You guys got great hockey players. Shout out to Mika Zibanejad. That's who I cheered for in the Olympics because I'm half Iranian. Okay, but listen. The Gripens do not survive against the Chengdu 90s of China or the MiGs or whatever the Suhois of Russia. Okay, so stop it. Stop it. To every single person that thinks they're a combat aviation expert, please stop it. Stop it. You're making me angry. You're making people who know combat aviation angry. Play Ace Combat. Please play Ace Combat 4. It's on PlayStation 2. Play Ace Combat 5. It's on PlayStation 2. Number 0, The Belkin War, and maybe 8 number 7 on PS4, whatever. You'll understand the plane might be good, but nothing beats the F-35 or the F-22. Please look at footage of the 12-day war between Israel and Iran and how the F-35s and 22s made mincemeat of the IRGC and their targets. And yes, I support Lockheed Martin. And yes, if you want to get some good investment, do invest in them. Not investment advice. They're not paying me. That's a bad joke, but that's the point.
Well,
Elliot,
never bet against the US, first of all. And what you're saying is not only true, but ultimately let the warfighters make the decision, right? Procurement of military equipment should not be a political issue. We should let our competent men and women who will have to do the fighting, who know what's needed, make the decisions. They've made the decision. The F-35 is a better aircraft suited for our needs, for our NATO obligations, for our NORAD obligations, for the future of Canada. It's future proof. It's a Gen 5 fighter. We don't have to stick to a 4.5 that's already freaking obsolete. So let the war fighters decide, get politics out of the military.
I agree. Open up the mines, open up the ring of fire, open up the oil field. Well, let Alberta pump out oil and get the new Leopard tanks we need or the K-57s from South Korea. Just get rid of the regulation. Get out of our own way. So Pierre, listen to the Conservative Party. This is my plea to them. Please, when you're in power, listen, get rid of the red tape. Open the ring of fire. Make some, I don't know, with Quebec. Okay, this is okay, Elliot, this is the controversial thing about Quebec. We have a green
Mhm.
lobby in Quebec. They do not
Yeah.
want the resources being touched. How do we
Hmm.
handle them? Because my extremist on the fringe views are you either buy them out, like you pay them off so they can leave, or we stop equalization payments. That's gonna win. That's gonna offend a lot of people. But listen, we gotta be really masters of our own house here. You see what happened? Now I'm triggered. I can't believe I even used triggered in a sentence. Now I'm fired up. Now the Taz, you guys want Taz? This is Taz when he comes out. We said, what's your take on that?
About the Green Lobby in Canada and Quebec?
Yeah, because we have our own resources too. Like we
Yeah,
have
we
as much as
do.
Alberta, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, we do. Well, I mean, people don't realize that, for example, Quebec is the fourth largest hydroelectricity producer in the entire world. In the entire world, we have shale gas, we have natural gas, we do have a little bit of oil, mostly around Anticosti. We have copper, we have iron, we got diamonds, we got forestry, we got water. We got so much. We got so freaking much, dude. So yeah, we could be super rich. How do we get out of our own way? I'd say the following, dude. To be no, that's not a good pause. I was just gonna say just screw what they think and do it. But man, here's, and I don't know why we're like this in Quebec, but I pitch, and this is not necessarily going to answer your question, but I pitched this conspiracy theory that the reason why Quebec doesn't want to exploit its natural resources is that they know right now they can just depend on the equalization payment and they're just bidding their time until they can finally separate and become sovereign. And only once they're sovereign, they'll be exploiting their resources. They don't want to effectively exploit Quebec's resources for the benefit of the country. They want to preserve it and use them only for the benefit of themselves in due time when they're sovereign. That would be a massive freaking funny turn of event. But how do we get over it? Well, I think it starts with education. A lot of folks are sold lies about, well, the planet and what it means to save it. Canada as a whole produces less than 2% world emissions. All right, we're not saving anything by castrating ourselves economically. That's number one. Number two, we can also educate them by compare and contrast what other countries who we may even look up as being similar to us have done with their natural resources, namely Norway. Norway decided to exploit its oil. They invested it very wisely, and now today they have the largest sovereign wealth fund in the entire world. Every Norwegian citizen has to his name 435,000 Canadian dollars worth of that sovereign wealth fund. The country is financed, it's not indebted, it's amazing, and this could be us. This, and then after that, you can say this would go into all those public services we love so much in Quebec. And I think you could probably shift the tune that way.
Amazing. Elliot, such a pleasure to have you on. I really enjoyed having you on. I hope I was a great host. Where can people connect with you if they want to follow your show? Because like you guys make some of the greatest reels, like you and your other co-host. Because there's Curtis and now there's a Sahar, right? Or Sela?
Simmer is his
Simmer.
name.
Simmer.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So Simmer now is a co-host. So our show, The Right Call Podcast, is on YouTube and Spotify. And as for me personally, it's HRH underscore Elliot, Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, you name it. Facebook now. Facebook's the place to be, dude. It's the place to be.
It really is. If you want to
Yeah, no,
enjoy.
for sure, for sure. So yeah, give us a follow, guys. Check it out. And Drew, by the way, amazing host. I gotta say, you did a tremendous job. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you tonight.
Same, man. If you guys like the show, make sure to hit the like, share, subscribe to the Drewsperience. Please follow the host and Elliot's show, The Right Call, because it's one of the best pages ever and whatnot. And maybe we'll do round two next time I come on your show. I mean, we'll see what happens. You never know, but I'd love to come
Absolutely.
on. And if you want me to bring that Taz energy, I will bring it. That's a
We'll
big,
do it. We'll be in person, okay?
yeah,
We'll get you on the show. We'll schedule you on the show. It's gonna be in Montreal on the West Island, and you
perfect.
better bring that energy, baby. I want it.
Oh, bro, I'll bring it. I'll be on like five coffees. I'll show up like Kramer, like in Seinfeld. He just like shows up in there. So do that. No, Elliot, keep up the great work, man. I love what you do. Guys, make sure to follow him, follow the show, because independent media, we are the new media order, the NMO.
That's it. Thanks,
NMO,
guys.
baby. Thanks, guys.